I would like to call to order the Public Safety and Human Services Committee. Clerk, can you please read the first item on the agenda?
Minutes of the September 4, 2024 Public Safety and Human Services Committee meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there anyone who would like to comment on the minutes or any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, clerk, can you please read the second item on the agenda?
PSHS 2024-01, communication from Council Chair Raposo requesting the presence of Chief of Police, the Fire Chief, and Kauai Search and Rescue to provide a briefing regarding the emergency search and rescue process, to include an overview of the current procedures underlying emergency search and rescue operations, roles and responsibilities of each organization, and collaboration between first responders and volunteers.
Okay, this is a...
Move to receive.
Second.
All right. We are continuing this conversation from September 4th about search and rescue. I'd like to just remind everybody in the audience or anybody who's testifying is that families and loved ones of a recently deceased individual that was part of what stimulated this conversation are watching or in the room. So I'd like to ask that we keep everything kind and positive. And the goal in having this agenda item now is really to be looking at how we can be moving forward in our most effective ways. We recognize that not everything happened correctly, and we're just looking at how we move forward in our best way. And I'm looking for, is Kalani K in here yet? Here. Got all these things. Okay. So how we're going to do this is our police department is who does the incident command. And so we're going to talk about how their process is and the many different groups that work when there's a rescue. It can be fire, it can be Coast Guard, Civil Air Patrol, certainly Kauai Search and Rescue. There's a lot of different organizations that come together to be able to do the search and rescue, and how we feather that in, and other community members that would like to do that. I think I will call Chief Gibson forward from the fire department to get us started. And so what we're looking for is an understanding of how everything works together, and how people always can make their efforts to look for their loved ones. So thank you, Chief Gibson. Would you like to start us off?
Yes, of course. Good morning, council member. Good morning, chair and council. Mike Gibson, fire department, fire chief. So in responding to the questions that were sent to us, one, overview of the current procedures underlying emergency search and rescue operations, roles and responsibilities of each organization, and then collaboration between first responders and volunteers. So the overview, so with not just search and rescue, but even specific to this incident where there was a missing person. That falls under KPD, that's a police response. The fire department would not be dispatched for a missing person. With a missing person, PD would take that because they need to interview any witnesses, family, to get sensitive information that could jeopardize a first responder if they weren't prepared for the incident. But when we talked about incident command, unified command, so in that situation, the police department would show up. They'd establish an incident command. When they do ask for the fire department to come join them, when it's a search because there's a known person that could be hurt, lost, or stranded, somebody that wants to be found, we're going to form a unified command. So incident commander from police, incident commander of fire, join together in one incident command post, share the information. They would direct the police resources, we would direct the fire resources. And then collaboration with volunteers. The fire department does not have a understanding or agreement with Kauai Search and Rescue, but the police does. The fire department in the past, we've had the CERT the emergency response team from the community, partnered with KEMA, where the fire department can use those volunteers. We know the training they've had. We know what they can and cannot do. So a volunteer could not walk up to a fire department command post, I'm here to help, and we could not be able to assume the liability for that person, not knowing what training they have or have not had. We understand there are people out there that have way more knowledge than us, but when we take the liability for them, we have to, I can only say this, if we're commanding a fire, somebody runs in and saves somebody before we get there, that's great, and it happens every day. There's a lot of people lie because of it. But once the fire department is there, I cannot grab a neighbor off the street and ask them to go into a house because I don't know their training and their background.
So is it correct that fire typically takes the lead when we have a missing person in the ocean? Is that right?
We're going to get together with PD.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let me just answer it this way, if I may. If it was reported, hey, somebody saw this person, they went under, that's all fire department. If somebody hasn't returned from the time they're supposed to go out, it's probably going to start on the police side. They're going to ask some other question, and they will require a response.
And an example of an ocean rescue, a surfer's out there, grabs somebody and helps bring them in. That happens
All
regularly.
fire department. Right.
Yeah, that would be fire department. Okay, and Deputy Chief Kalani Kay, thank you for being here. I know that you were just called over. So if you could list the different processes that you have and then the range of other organizations, including the state and all those things, all how it comes together and how an incident command happens when we are doing a wilderness search.
Okay, morning, Kalani K, Assistant Chief with Kauai Police Department. So for when the calls come in that someone is missing or someone wants to report someone missing, primarily the patrol officer is going to be the first responder out there. They're going to take the initial complaint and get as much information as they can regarding the whole situation, regarding description, time, last seen, and all of that. And then based on what the findings are, usually what happens is the initial responder will notify their supervisor, which is an on-duty sergeant. And then based on the situation or the information, they will likely notify our criminal investigations division, our detectives. And the detectives will respond and meet with the sergeant and the investigating officer, gather as much information as they can, conduct additional follow-ups, interviews if necessary, and then depending on, obviously the type of the person who is missing, like if they have, for example, medical conditions, or if the person may have Alzheimer's or things along those lines. It also depends on the location, if it's in the wilderness or in the town or in the ocean where someone may have been last seen, things along those lines. The detective will consult with their commander and make a determination. Okay, first of all, what resources do we have? What resources do we need? Whose jurisdiction is it? All those different types of questions, and then make a determination on who we need to call out. A lot of times we call out fire, Coast Guard, DLNR. We also have Parks and Rec. Depends on, like I said, what the location is, what the jurisdiction is, and what the circumstances are. And then we'll, if we're going to respond and stand up a search mission, we'll go out, we'll find a location, we'll stand up a command post, and if there's multiple agencies involved, most likely, like Chief said, we'll form a unified command and operate the incident based on incident command structure, and give out assignments and monitor and things along those lines. And then Potentially, the resources that we have available to us may include the aircraft, the helicopter, our communication support team, because a lot of times in the different areas, we may not have the best communications. We will stand up the communications team. We have a small, what is known, people know as a drone team. So often we deploy those aircrafts. And depending on the situation, we may call upon Kauai Search and Rescue to assist. We have a standing MOU with them, and they provide additional support to us. KPD does not have a search and rescue, like an auxiliary team. So that is just another resource for us to widen our footprint when we're out there searching for someone. And then also too, what we try to do is that early on in the investigation, when we determine that it's a valid missing person, we try to push out some form of release to get the information out to the public, so that one, if people have information, they can come forward and we can add that and include that in our investigation. And they can also be eyes and ears too for the police department. They may hear something, they may see something, they may know someone who may have information, and that's kind of how the cases go and build from there.
So I have a question on how do we recognize like an Amber Alert or an urgent situation versus a little bit more of a calm inquiry, like if like we haven't seen this person, like when do we go, because I think that was something, a critical challenge in the example that we have of a recent tragedy. When do we go from when we know, okay, all hands on deck right now, let's look, calling in doe care or whatever else, versus, well, we'll go and we'll check and we'll look and when do we determine those differences?
So you mentioned Amber Alert. So
Which is with the child.
Right. So for that, you have to have certain criteria. You have to have confirmation that the child was abducted. They need to be less than 17. There's all of these criteria that needs to happen for that. And then once you determine that, then you can make that Amber Alert notification, which includes a pretty long protocol.
So I just gave that as an example. I just mean when we know something happened and somebody saw somebody fall or whatever it is, when we know we have to look versus when somebody's worried.
If we have a witness that says, I saw something, and they can confirm that, we're responding right away. It's the other ones where we're trying to figure out, hey, we haven't seen this person in a few days, or those are the ones that we have to do some form of investigation before we deploy the entire team. So it depends, and it depends on what information that we have, what information we need to find out, if that makes sense.
Okay, and then I want to let other people ask questions. We're going to hear.
I was wondering, Chair, when you were going to get to that, because it seemed like you're running this meeting as if you're having a private meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And asking all the
would you
questions.
like
And
to?
I think you should have clarified, are we going to have the full presentation and then questions at the end? Or are we just going to keep interrupting them? So I
Okay.
don't necessarily have a particular question right now, but I'm just wondering how you're running this meeting.
I think we startled them by bringing them in early, and so I was just kind of trying to help out. So we were going to hear also from Kauai Search and Rescue. I wanted to be able to have him
Are
guide
their
us.
presentations done?
Well, is your presentation done?
All the bullets?
Yeah.
Those are the bullets that I have here noted. Yes.
So, yeah, I would have the question on volunteers. I gave the earlier example of surfers in the water, like when there are people who are called in by family, or, when people start looking before it's really determined it's critical. How does that work forward? We talked about this in an earlier meeting. How do we weave in hunters, hikers, family, different people who are going to search regardless? You're missing your loved one, you're going to go look, right? How do we weave that in?
So if they start searching prior to police arriving, we can't stop them. But once the police and the command team gets involved, we have certain guidelines that we follow. We got to secure the area. One, we maintain control of who comes and goes. We maintain a pretty detailed log of who's there, what their responsibilities are, where they go, and all of that. So if someone wants to come forward and assist, right now we don't have anything in place where someone can actually come in and say, hey, I want to assist, primarily because of liability reasons. If we allow someone who we may not know their skill set or their situation, and we allow them to come in and potentially we put them in a situation that they may need some form of rescue or attention from us, which takes away from the initial mission. So we just got to be careful about that. Right now, we don't, like I said, we don't have anything in place that you can show up and you can check in and you can assist. We don't.
And are we working on that?
We're having conversations about that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then I would like to have Kauai Search and Rescue join to be part of the conversation. You could take the next chair and say what you could say, because we can have the process.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Council Chair, Council members, my name is Brett Edgerton. I've been a volunteer Kauai Search and Rescue member for the last 3.5 years now. This is the third team I've been a part of. I was on a Colorado Mountain Rescue team in Steamboat Springs, Colorado for 8.5 years. And then I spent 1.5 years on the Sonoma County Search and Rescue team in California in the North Bay area. So thank you for allowing us to come and present. We do have a slideshow to show you, to give you information regarding our team and our procedures and policies.
Okay, perfect. I would like to have that presented.
So this should answer all the questions that you had posed. And additionally, this will be I think an educational component to this, because some of you are familiar with search and rescue, some of you may not be. I think some folks in this room, it's obvious what fire and police do, these gentlemen. It may not be quite clear what search and rescue, what's involved in that. So as this queues up, so this will answer some questions, I think. There's also, I come across all the folks all the time on this island that aren't familiar that we even have a search and rescue team. In my mind, that's a good thing. We haven't had to come out and look for you. And there's folks maybe in this room who just have the wrong information, are misinformed or ill-informed, so hopefully we'll educate them as well. Okay, Kauai Search and Rescue. Some of these slides will be important to read word for word, because I think everyone needs to hear it, especially this next slide. Our mission. So Kauai Search and Rescue is a nonprofit volunteer organization committed to providing response with specialized canines and trained personnel to assist in locating missing persons. KSAR will cooperate fully with the agencies and organizations requesting our expertise and services. At this time, we are the only all-volunteer SAR team in this state with an MOU with our police department.
Can I interrupt? Memorandum of Understanding. Not everybody, SAR is search and rescue. If we can use the real words rather than the acronyms, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Kauai Search and Rescue is primarily a search organization, but we are not in charge of search and rescue. That goes to fire and police. We're here to assist and support those official agencies. There are other search and rescue organizations in the state. On Kauai, there's the Hawaii Search Dog Association. Oahu, Maui, and Big Island each have their own search and rescue team, and Maui also has STAT, which is a search tech advisory team, which was formed after a missing person incident a number of years ago. This last sentence is important. Volunteers from the community are often involved in searching for friends and loved ones, but we don't work directly with them for safety, privacy, and other issues involved in unvetted community volunteers. So search and rescue here in Kauai started in the early 2000s. Our current team, we were incorporated and founded in 2005. Historically, it was just a canine search team. Very small team, only responded on our island, and the canines were involved in the wilderness and urban. So since then, we've grown significantly. Our canines do disaster response as well as wilderness and urban. We have 30 plus members. We have prospective members in the process of being vetted and testing out so they can deploy with us. We have deployed across the state to other islands when their law enforcement requests it, and we have added disciplines like our hiring bull ropes team and our drones. We are also an American Safety and Health Institute approved training center. Who are we? We are professional volunteers. To get on the team, we pass a background check. You have to be 18 years or older. We do welcome any physical ability, and from folks from all walks of life are part of our team. We adhere to a specific code of conduct. Some future slides, you'll start to see this tiered approach based on California Office of Emergency Services, this mutual aid resource typing. We just ask, we have positive, dedicated team and community-oriented members, and just that they have a desire to serve and learn and volunteer. Some of our current members, we have retired fire captain, we have members from KPD, former military, federal canine training instructor, National Guard, various conservation groups. We have an ear doctor, EMT, nurse practitioner, social workers, teachers, small business owners, retirees, stay-at-home dads, all walks of life. Everyone is a Kauai resident. Some are born and raised here. Others are from the mainland, like myself. I moved here 9 years ago. And we have some international members as well. We have new members who are brand new to search and rescue, understanding and learning the process. We also have folks on our team from 15 to 50 years experience. All members on our team take a physical fitness test based on, you see some typing here, type 1, 2, 3, and 4. There'll be more information on that later. But we take a standard wildland firefighter fitness test. The type 1 takes the arduous duty, heavy pack, walk farther. Type 2 is a moderate test, light duty, and then type 4, no test required. We've got more on that in the future. What we do, we train often. We have monthly all-team trainings, which we do various search and rescue skills listed in the paragraph below. We do practice scenarios, we do joint trainings with other organizations and agencies, and then the disciplines within our group all train independently, weekly or monthly. That's K9 drones and the ropes team. We do have highly specialized disciplines like our rope rescue team. So 5 days from now, we have a certifying organization coming to the island to do a contract class where members of our team and fire are doing a rope rescue technician class to get certified in that. We do monthly trainings. These are some trainings we've done. This is a high line over a river. This is a 90-foot vertical well shaft we've had to rescue a couple of dogs out of on numerous occasions. And then, of course, the recovery we did up in Kauai last year. We do man tracking, so a lot of these are perishable skills. That's why we train often and a lot. This is a professional gentleman who comes to the island, and we do joint training with us and KPD on just visual man tracking, how to train your eyes to see specific things. Another perishable skill is navigation and mapping. If we're not continually up to date with that, that's something you can get out of practice with. The map on the right is it's a robust mapping software that we use that came into fruition in 2017. A lot of search and rescue teams across the country use this software because a liaison with search and rescue can be at staging and relay information to an incident commander at command post. We can see every team in the field, where they are in real time. We can set parameters of a search area. It's a fantastic software. Search and rescue teams use it. It's also available to the public backcountry enthusiasts. And then the medical component I mentioned, we're American Safety and Health Institute approved training center. Here we're just going over patient packaging and extrication from the woods. Our drone team, they train often. Obviously, there's software technology updates that occur. So this is various trainings, daytime and nighttime, and different training levels we experience. Who we work with? Kauai Police Department, of course, Kauai Fire Department, Civil Air Patrol, DLNR, National Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, and we have a forensic internship relationship with Chaminade University. We work with them as well.
FEMA.
Thank you, and FEMA. We deploy when requested by the agency having jurisdiction, typically law enforcement. It's important to mention we do not self-deploy as a team or a member. We will not. We have been deployed for missing persons, for evidence searches, for disaster response. Some numbers over the last couple of years, some of the incidences we have had. In 2024, at the bottom, just year to date in the last 9 months, we've had 7 incidences we've responded to. And then the 76 exercises, that's the trainings we've had just in the last 9 months from all SAR team, all team trainings and our disciplines. These are the standards we follow. We did not make up search and rescue. Hundreds of search and rescue teams across the country all follow these standards. From the National Incident Management System, the National Association from Search and Rescue, and the Scientific Working Group on Dog and Orthogonal Detector Guidelines. Within the incident command system, we fit within the framework. We understand our role. We follow the chain of command. And like the picture on the right shows, we are just a tool in the toolbox. Kind of the highlight of our team are these dogs. We have these two, especially Ola and Haley. They're both certified with FEMA, California Task Force 4. Ola's urban live find and Haley's a human remains detection dog. Haley and her owner are currently on standby to be deployed to the Carolinas to help with that hurricane disaster, possibly leaving this week. Other teams that are field deployable, Sheila's a wilderness live find, urban search dog. Kamea's an urban search dog. And then we have 7 canines in training currently for various areas. Ghost, human remains detection. India's a trailing dog. Max and Charlie on the left, their dad works for KPD, volunteers with KSAR, human remains detection and possible training or ammunition and gun searches. Daniel, possible disaster dog, cross-trained for wilderness. Kyla is already retired from explosive detection and is going to be joining us as a trailing dog. And then Kaya's specialties to be determined. What's the future look like? So we're going to continue to be a valuable tool for search and rescue on Kauai. We will continue transparent communication with KPD and KFD, our police and fire departments, and keep all search data private. We will not malign other agencies and organizations as we do follow a code of ethics. We will continue to act in a professional manner, and as such, we don't respond to unsubstantiated claims and inflammatory rhetoric on social media. Every other year, we do a joint task force training with the FEMA group that comes out with their canines. They work with us. This is at the Humane Society. Mayor Kawakami's here. A couple of you council members are in this photo as well. If those questions you posed have not been answered yet, this is these future slides will answer this, and then we'll have a short video just at the very end. Another overview of what we do. Kauai Search and Rescue is a nonprofit volunteer organization that provides its services at no cost to the people of Kauai. All of our members, dog handlers, dogs, and support personnel undergo extensive training. We certify to the standards established by NIMS and FEMA, and we certify through the organizations I've mentioned, like the National Association for Search and Rescue. Our people are trained in visual tracking, compass, topographical map reading, first aid, and CPR. The dogs are all obedience trained, and then trained to track based on either human scent discrimination or air scenting. Optionally, they may be trained for human remains detection. How are we deployed? We can only respond to call-outs by agencies such as the police department. Once officially activated, we work closely under their direction. We have been deployed on Kauai, of course. Maui and Big Island law enforcement have also reached out to us. Again, we do not self-employ. Sometimes a call-out happens as a standby, where we're given a heads up. This is developing, we may need you. This is fantastic to know because we can now make arrangements in our lives to, someone's going to pick up our kids, or we can make arrangements to get off work now. Sometimes we're stood down the situation works itself out. Sometimes we are activated. We get a call from KPD, and then we'll send an official call out through our personnel software, which is D4H. Everyone gets an official call out, whether it's a voice recorded message and a text and an email stating what is happening. You're requested immediately. We respond back to that, say I can come right now, or I can certainly come, within the couple hours. We go into once we've responded, we're putting into a search category where forthcoming information arise, whether this is where staging is, this is where the incident command post is, this is who's in charge. And we show up at staging fully equipped. This goes back into the typing I mentioned, the resource typing that all of our members are a part of. So type 4, type 3, type 2, type 1. You first saw that in the physical fitness test. So the type 4 searcher, we did not make up these terms. This comes from FEMA and the California Office of Emergency Services. They can be deployed in high traffic, urban areas. This person may be handing out flyers, working closely with the command post. Everything else under that, they still pass all the same tests that all the other searchers will pass. Incident command, bloodborne pathogens, map and radio and compass. Type 3 is the same as type 4, except the terrain changes, right? They can go out to the field. This person takes the search and rescue technician level 3 class. Onto the type 2 person, this takes the moderate physical fitness test. This person is the same as type 3. However, they also take the search and rescue technician level 2 class. And onward and forward, type 1 searcher takes the arduous test. The reason this is important, resource typing, if Maui has an incident, large scale, and it grows, and they need help, and they call law enforcement, and we get deployed, they may ask us for 2 or 3 teams, or maybe we need 6 or 9 members, but please have them be type 1 and type 2. That we know what training we're heading into. We know exactly what members we're sending. Our K-9 handlers, the urban focus disciplines, are type 3, and the folks that are with the wilderness discipline are type 2. All K-9s have to be evaluated by search and rescue prior to initiating training. We do keep logs on all handlers and K-9s at training, and then dogs are all traded when they're not actively training. K-9s must be certified by a recognizing agency like NASAR and Stardust. The search manager on our team, those folks meet a lot higher standards, have a little more experience in search and rescue. They really run the mapping program, and then the incident command system classes they take are expounded upon. They have a lot more knowledge on that system. They take the managing lost person incident. There's also the managing the inland land function. There's another search class they take. As a first responder organization, maintaining public trust and operating in a safe manner are our top priorities. For the protection of our members and communities we serve, all of our members are subject to criminal background check and must obtain current CPR and first aid certifications. What is our responsibility to incident command? Well, all of our members acknowledge and respect the authority of the personnel responsible. That would be the incident commander, the IC. And our members will communicate with incident command and other agencies involved only by following a chain of command. This last slide simply states that if there's an incident occurring, we keep a liaison back at our staging to help manage folks in the field, relay information to incident command post, gather information, and so we follow proper channels. Next is a slideshow. I think one slide that may be missing, if I may. We talked about procedure, what happens, who we are, and how we organize and what we do. But there's no question of why we do it. That was posed recently. What is your why? Why do you do search and rescue? Sorry, Cindy, I never got back to you on that. A simple answer: as a volunteer first responder, I like to help people. The textbook answer: if you open up any search and rescue manual or textbook, it simply says either in the back or the front in quotation marks, so that others may live. That's the textbook answer. My wife, I don't think she's here today, she summed it up for me years ago when we were at a fundraiser for another team I was on, and walking through hand in hand, and we had someone stop in front of me, and she blocked our path, and I looked up at her. She was freakishly tall. I looked up at her, and she hugged me. She's like, "Oh my God, you're the only face I remember that night. Thank you so much for helping us out." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. You're doing so well. So happy to see you." She's like, "Where's the rest of the team? You're the only face I saw. I didn't meet anyone else." I was like, "Oh, that's Chris and Ross. These are guys over here. They'd love to see you. Let us know how you're doing." And she had a back brace on. She was a climbing accident. They took a fall. She broke her back. I would happen to be the attendant that was raised. We packaged her. We had morphine on board to manage pain. We got to the rock face about midnight. We lowered her down the mountain, got her on a wheel, rolled her out. We arrived at the ambulance at sunrise, all through the night. So then she says, "Thank you, I'm going to go say hi to your friends." So she hugs my wife. And she was kind of taken aback. She's like, "Thank you for allowing him to do what he does." And that's when my wife looked at me. She's like, "That's why you do it. If we can help the one person, if we can help bring closure for a family, that's why we will show up equipped, ready to do the task at hand."
Thank you so much, and thank you to all of the KSAR team, the Kauai Fire Department, and the Kauai Police Department. And they're not here, but DoCare, and our rangers, and Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Thank you for giving us a comprehensive presentation. Council members, do you have questions? Vice Chair Cooley.
Thank you so much for such a thorough presentation. I really appreciated all the data and all the pictures. I especially appreciate the pictures of all the hero dogs, the one that's doing the work and working with their humans to go through all the training and everything. What really stood out to me was the part where you said what we do on slide 24, and you said at no cost. So I'm wondering if in none of your presentations, and maybe it's something you can follow up with later, if when in slide 15, when you talked about the 9 incidents, the 13 incidents, 8, 7, 76 exercises, all these numbers, if you could quantify that value, because I think, yes, it's your life calling, if you will, and you do it because that's what you're driven to do. You want to help the community and help the county basically directly by working with fire and police. But I would love to see you quantify that in what you're giving to the county. And the other thing I think, obviously, what is the annual cost to you? Because county's not paying for this.
Right. We supply
But you're paying for training, for equipment, for your certifications. I thought it was cool too that you shared there was a robust mapping software that everybody uses. I never knew that. And so is that like an annual cost to your organization, and then all your users have the right, members have the right to use it?
Yeah, and what's fantastic, we're on a multi-agency, other agencies in the field with us, we can share the information on their phones, and they can activate their tracks. And we can really see everyone in the field.
And before we take another question, I realized you said you have a video.
Correct.
Is that right?
The
So I
next slide,
apologize.
if I may.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh, one more time, thank you.
Good morning, council members and interested citizens. My name is Bill Weber. I am here in spirit today to speak in support of Kauai Search and Rescue. For the last 3 years, I've been working with the team in several capacities, from doing on-site trainings, as well as certification classes and testing as an instructor and lead evaluator for the National Association of Search and Rescue. I have over 52 years of field experience with my county SAR team, and have taught and presented at several national and regional SAR conferences, including the first to be held in the state of Hawaii on Oahu last year. Historically, KSAR started as a K-9 team and had some problems that caused the team to nearly fade from existence. With new leadership and the expanded vision of becoming a full SAR team, I believe that they have made great strides in a short period of time to get back to an operational readiness state. They have an MOU, the local agency having jurisdiction, the only one I know of for a SAR team in the state of Hawaii, and they value that relationship and work hard not to dishonor or violate the agreement that they have made with KPD. Just as with the majority of other SAR teams across the country, KSAR is a volunteer organization, 100%. They are making sure that all members get trained and certified to national standards in search and rescue, first aid, and other related disciplines, which in itself is a time-consuming task. Add to this the other ongoing training needs, public relations, and support activities they participate in with the local community, and the various type of call-outs they get activated for, all add up to a lot of hours that these paraprofessionals give freely to aid the citizens of Kauai County, all at no cost to the taxpayers. In my opinion, Kauai SAR is doing it right, and I'm optimistic about their future growth. I believe the county is lucky to have them. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, did you have more questions,
Oh,
Vice Chair?
yeah.
Anybody else with a question?
I have a question.
Okay.
And it's really, I mean, you know, it's like, it's like a commercial for KSAR, you know, that my intent was, I absolutely have no issues with Kauai Search and Rescue and appreciate the presentation, but, you know, the whole objective of having this discussion is primarily to locate missing people. The objective is to find missing people or injured people or whatever the case may be. And I think the component, and it was mentioned a little earlier that you guys are in discussions, but how do we achieve or get to a point or a place where we can complement the current process with Kauai Search and Rescue with our local talent? I call them local talent because that's what it is. We have, and I think when we met a couple weeks ago, I said, you know, if my son was missing, I'd call KPD and then I'd call Clayton Kubo and have him go round up his hunters, and KPD would do their thing with Kauai Search and Rescue. But how do we incorporate our local talented people into this process so we can assist? Is there a way we can actually all coexist so we can get talented, trained personnel out there looking for our missing people? That's what I hope to get out of this discussion, and you know, making sure that we have exhausted all of our efforts and resources before we call off a search. I mean, I think that's where I want to get to. Is that something that we can work towards? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a question to KPD
Yeah.
and
No,
Yeah.
KFD.
No, if I may, if we know in advance that we're going to be using these type of resources, then we should lay out a plan. There should be safety, coordination, and training, right? So if we know we're going to use somebody, we need to know who it is that we contact. We would like them to have the chain of command. We would need them to understand the ICS system. We would need them to have compatible radio communications with us. There's a huge need for more volunteers, whether it's under one umbrella or several. But if it's something we know in advance, then that organization or nonprofit just needs to take the time to plan and be organized. I made the reference earlier that, you know, grabbing a neighbor, send him to a house on fire. On every incident, the incident commander can use his or her judgment to use a resource that hasn't been vetted. For example, the Kamakani and the Hanapepe fires we just had. Fire department from Kauai or PMRF or the state didn't fight that fire alone. We had private contractors operating bulldozers, water tenders. The fire would not have gone out with everybody's help. So the incident commander has that ability to bring on a resource that has.
Yeah, and I think that's the question, is that something that we would consider? You know, if Mel Raposo showed up at your IC command post for a search of a missing person up in Kauai, I have absolutely no business there. Zero. You know, I'm not in shape, I'd get lost, I'd become a liability. But how can we devise a process where, and I think I shared, like, and it's a horrible analogy or comparison, but it is what it is. It's when we have loose cattle. Dispatch has a list of ranchers in the area that they just call. Is there a way, is there a place, is it possible we can get to a place where that happens? Whether it's through a pre-vetting process or, because not everybody wants to join Kauai Search and Rescue. Not everybody wants to be bound by, they have no interest in, they know the mountains, and if called on, they would help, without creating a conflict with what Kauai Search and Rescue is doing. Because I don't want to see that either.
Right. I think what you mentioned is key, making sure that whoever is participating gets along and doesn't create more trouble for
Correct.
the operation. And, the goal at the end of the day is making sure that everyone goes home, including the person that we may be searching for. We're still trying to figure out how to do that, Chair. How to we set the standards or come up with some sort of guidelines to be able to do what you're asking. We haven't, because we know that they do it in other places. So how do we figure that out and how do we establish that? We're still working on that.
Okay.
I have a follow-up on that. We have met a couple times, and I was actually expecting those ideas to be presented today. That's what I was expecting, is that there might have been some follow-up ideas to be presented.
We haven't established them yet. We're still trying to vet those out.
Okay. Does anybody else have questions? Councilmember DaCosta?
I have a small question, but I also have a comment. I guess I'll frame my question first. So this was asked by Council Chair Mel Raposo about integrating our team. I would like to say of experienced, adventurous hikers and hunters, and in all different states we have. When they rescue, let's say in Utah, when they gotta go, deep into the mountain, I guess they would traverse the helicopter, but they also have a group of people on horseback that get deputized for that search and rescue. I know I brought this to Kalani, you and Mark's attention in our private conversations, but do you guys are we leaning towards that, like having some kind of deputized for search and rescue, where you bring in the experienced people to jump on areas where maybe search and rescue does not know, that you guys don't know. Is there that plan we're moving towards?
I think, Councilmember, that kind of follows along the same lines. KPD doesn't deputize, we wouldn't deputize, but if we can establish some sort of call out.
Is it like do some kind of memorandum agreement with the outsiders?
Potentially. As soon as we kind of figure out how that would all work and come together. Sorry, I don't have a good answer to that yet.
No, that's the right answer. Yeah. Thank you.
I have a follow-up on that one. This is directed at the fire department. Especially in the time when we had a lot of boaters before you were here, but even now, when there are people lost at sea or somebody drifts off in their kayak, helicopters and boats are often called in, to keep their eye out. They're looking for them. When we had real active tour boats on the north, I'm sure it happens on the south, but they would pick up these people all the time. Surfers are like lifeguards. And what is your process for vetting and knowing? What is your process for that? I know at our elements meeting that we had this week, you guys presented yesterday on how you're even using your system to be able to get different information, your computer system to get different information and coalesce it. Is there anything that we have in the fire department that might transfer over as a template for the police department in non-criminal situations? I want to acknowledge, in a criminal situation, you guys are this is your thing.
Councilman, I'm not quite understanding the question.
When we have people that are lost at sea
Okay.
or that are missing in the ocean, typically, I know we call in the Coast Guard,
Right.
but helicopters start to look, tour helicopters, tour boats. Oftentimes, it's tour boats who find those people, especially when it was super active. do you have a process that is able to find missing people in the ocean that might be appropriate? Because not all these people are pre-vetted. You don't vet every surfer, right?
No.
So how do we manage that?
The unified command for us, because on an incident like that, fire will be there, KPD will be there, United States Coast Guard will be there, and oftentimes Kauai Search and Rescue. Not only in the ocean, we're searching sea level, but aircraft, and then we have shoreline searches, jet skis, and we will, this is on a known, somebody saw the swimmer go down, we know there's somebody out there, and we extend that search up to 72 hours. The only things that could change that is end of life, so we found signs that there's no life, or we found clothing or an article from the missing swimmer, or somebody thought they saw the swimmer, that would reset that 72-hour clock and we would search longer. But yes, we do use a number of resources in the area, but communication-wise, it's Coast Guard, KPD, KSAR, whoever has our radio. We cannot communicate with the tour boats. That's usually through cell phone, through dispatch, and if our incident commander can get their cell phone, then we can be in contact with them. But we do not have a way to do an all-call to those boats and such.
Okay, I know a long time ago when I'd be out on the boats, it would go on that piece, and because I'd be on the boats and they'd say, hey, keep an eye out for, and that would go through all the different boats. And so there is a role for it. I think that that's what the chair is really asking. I think that that's what some of the other people in the room are asking. They can't commit to being part of KSAR, and I thank KSAR for the amazing job that they do. And I think what the chair was asking is, how do we put a place where they feel welcome and wanted, and that we want to get rid of the conflict, because KSAR doesn't deserve the conflict that's going at them, and we want to welcome the all hands on deck approach. We did talk about why sometimes it can be, if I remember, did you say this, that if we're not careful, especially if there's a criminal situation, sometimes even the person who caused the problem can be out on the search team if you're not able to vet it, right? That was a reason that I recall you're sharing. So you have to just kind of speak to that in a minute.
That's correct.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Bullison?
Thank you guys for these presentations. I guess, I wanted to elaborate a little bit more if you guys can share. What's the risk for Joe Schmo coming on and you don't know who they are and they jump in and help with the search? I mean, I'm trying to understand why the vetting process is necessary and how that helps us help people properly.
I think one of the risks is potentially allowing someone to get into a situation where they may not be physically capable potentially and cause injury or potentially get lost. The other thing is one of the big things for us is confidentiality and making sure that information that they may come across or be informed of, that it stays within and not shared out on social media and other platforms. That is one big concern for us too. So things along those lines, Councilmember. Primarily safety. That's the top concern for that.
That makes sense. And just to follow up, so what kind of liability is in place? So say, Joe Schmo came not part of KSAR, something happens. Like, who assumes responsibility of those challenges that come with that, or those conflicts that come with that?
That might be a county attorney question.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilmember Kagawa?
Yeah, I see us kind of like moving into discussion a lot, and we should keep it to questions at this point. I guess for KSAR, is there a chance of maybe including some of our local hunters and whatever, like into a part, since it's volunteer, like into a part-time basis, and then we eliminate this whole vetting of random, people. Is there a chance of that? I mean, I look at your bunch and it looks like, they're all like full-time type.
We're happy to welcome anyone to the team who wants to go through kind of our vetted process. We don't just work with community members. Same reasons, I believe.
I mean, and then for the KPD, I guess, upon your initial investigation, like, I don't want to talk too much about Dylan Kid, but where you can kind of quickly see, like, probably no foul play, just missing, and then you want to find him fast in case something has happened. That, so is there a way, like, to quickly determine that, okay, no foul play, perhaps we can go with the larger search team that includes, volunteer hunters maybe that have signed up on your list that you trust, and then that way we just have a bigger search team right from the outset. Is there? Because I know, for you guys, you try to be like safe and say, well, just in case there is foul play or whatever, you want to protect the scene and stuff. But like in that case, it seemed like that one, because it's kind of new,
I think the reality is we cannot make that it's difficult to make that determination until you get further along in the investigation, and unless someone can say for sure that there's no foul play, we cannot make that determination until we actually potentially make a discovery, or even when we have witnesses come forward, we take all of that into consideration. But just based on statements alone, it's hard for us to say there's no foul play involved. And so we just got to be careful about the information that we have, the information that we share, who we share it to, because of the reason potentially that maybe there is something involved that we just didn't know about.
I mean, for me, it just comes like then you weighing like what is more important, like finding a crime or finding and saving someone's life, soon after something happened. So I guess like there's no perfect solution sometimes, but then I guess I would want to save that person's life first rather than, I don't know.
If I can join this one, by all means, if we know somebody is hurt, we want to find them fast. They could be bleeding out. We have limited time, and that's when I reference the incident commander has that ability to use his judgment. Hey, that's a acceptable risk, right? This hunter or whoever it is says I can help, and I know I have somebody there bleeding. That's a risk worth taking, and we'll have to ask for his lenience if we go to court for any reason, right? But for planning for the future, if we know we're going to rely on these resources, then we got to advance. They've got to be trained. They've got to understand our radio communications, accountability. And if we have their name on a list to call them, we're going to have to be able to depend on them. Because now if we're dependent on that resource, we're holding back on our training because, we don't need to expand our resources in our department because we can rely on this outside resource. We just got to know they're going to be there.
I guess, and just going back to like when my good friend Lono went missing, in Kauai, I mean, it's like, that one right away, like, you talk to all the family, all the friends, like, nobody gonna kill Lono, you know what I mean? He just went go up, pick Bailey or whatever, and got lost. So I mean, sometimes, if you really hesitate, you can say like, perhaps there's a crime scene, therefore we're not gonna expand to, everybody we know for just try to find him, because I think the fact of the matter was he was alive for a while, but he wasn't found for quite a while too. So sometime in between he probably passed away. But you know what I'm saying? It's a juggling. Actually, I'm glad I got the answer from you that maybe that might be the option, and then that way you guys get away from the fact that you just could have like random guys that may be included, but they can kind of maybe get like on a part-time basis on these guys right here on their list of a bigger expanded group to search. I don't know. Thanks.
All right, maybe we could take one or two more questions, and then I'm hoping to allow the people who want to testify to hear from that side. Councilmember Bulasan had his hand up first, then Vice Chair Kauai.
This question for KSAR. What kind of liabilities do you guys, I mean, I'm assuming, as a nonprofit, you have liability insurance, and
Sure.
is there any additional insurance? Because I'm assuming this is a high risk.
Can be.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, I know like business liability insurance, general liability insurance. Is there a specific type of insurance for this kind of?
General.
It's just a general, oh, okay. I'm just curious on how we protect, or how you guys are protected in this process. And then my follow-up question to KSAR again is, it's all volunteer trained people. So how does KSAR function for cost-wise? I mean, just donations and grants and.
That's exactly it. So, like personal gear wise, I supply my own personal gear. My own backpack, my 24-hour, 48-hour pack, whatever I'm searching through the woods with, my own headlamps, my own gear. We've been fortunate to be awarded some grants, which has gotten some wonderful equipment, a storage trailer to keep that equipment in. So yeah, donations and grants.
Okay. And then is KSAR part of any national groups? I think you said, is there an overall search and rescue United States?
Yeah, we saw that.
We attest to the
Okay.
NASAR, the National Association for Search and Rescue, with FEMA members on our team.
But there's no like national search and rescue and organization. Oh, there is. Oh, it's. And is it like, is KSAR a member of that, or?
We are.
Okay, and there's a
So we test those
certification.
standards.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course.
Vice Chair Cooley, and then Councilmember Carvalho, and then Councilmember DaCosta.
So I noticed you had a slide on drones, and I think what you were saying is that you have a drone team. I heard fire say they had a drone team. So do you work together closely, or how does that work?
We have done joint trainings with the police ground team.
So police has a drone team. Okay. And then, do you mentioned you collaborate with KPD and fire. Do you also collaborate with KEMA? And of those three different county entities, is KPD your lead entity then?
We get activated primarily through KPD. That's our memorandum.
Activated through KPD. And so what you mentioned DLNR and Coast Guard, is that still all through KPD?
Correct.
Okay.
Those are just other agencies that we've worked with.
And then finally, all the talk about water searching. So you do water searches too?
We leave that to the experts.
Yeah.
We will certainly
We
be
will
eyes
go
on
to
the
shore.
shoreline.
And then I have a different question for KPD.
Okay.
Quick. So in all instances, searches are initiated by KPD? Or if there's any exceptions, can you share?
Unless it would come in through dispatch and it went through fire first, primarily it would be through KPD.
And then to be more specific, because I know there are people in the audience that testified last time when we didn't have the presentation, and they asked some questions. So when do you call off a search? Like after what amount of time, or after what criteria you've checked off?
I think it depends on the overall situation. It depends on the standard that we try to hold is 72 hours, and the 72 hours would start from when we get the initial call, and then when we deploy, it all depends, and it's determined by what's happening in the field, the conditions, the location, what other evidence comes to our attention, and then before we call off any search, or we always have a meeting with the stakeholders, police, fire, DoCare, KSAR, and then we do a full assessment of what we've done, if there's anything else to do, if there's any other evidence that we need to look at, and we base our decision if we're going to suspend something based on totality. It could extend longer, it could be shorter, it all depends on that particular situation.
And some people say that that recent search was called off prematurely. You have a minimum, you say 72 hours?
That's our primary standard from when the call initially comes in.
Primary standard. And so that search was called out after 72 hours?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Then the last thing is, so after the search is called off, I think probably similar to what you said earlier about people going off and just searching on their own. I think you used the phrase, "we can't stop them." So that's the same thing after you call the search off. Individuals may choose to continue searching, and that's all fine until they maybe need rescuing themselves. I think you mentioned that too. Or they do anything that breaks any law.
Once we open the scene or the area, and we open it up, we obviously we're not going to have any control, so people, they will deploy, they will go out if they have a family member that's missing. And really, we cannot stop. We don't have the resources to stop that.
Well, you just triggered that last question. So when you do a search, do you track what additional resources it takes, what the cost is? And from the county council side, we do budget, right? Do you have a specific line item, and is it sufficient? Do you need additional funds for that?
We don't have a specific line item for search and rescue, but we keep track of all of our resources and whatever we may use, materials or supplies that we may use in the field. We keep track of all of
I
that.
think it would be interesting if you would provide that, some kind of report detailing, we did this search, this is what we expended, we did this search, this is what we expended. And then, numbers, what it took and what the result was. And I think we need to figure out, just to make sure that that's not a reason for you not to do what's needed. There's nothing more valuable than saving a life at any cost. Thank you.
Councilmember Cavaglia.
Just a question, so for KSAR, your funding structure, I just want to get an understanding of that. How do you reach out, or how does that work for you folks?
Yeah, sometimes we're invited to apply for a specific grant from a certain company, like State Farm.
Yeah.
They've awarded us grants in the past, and they've given us a heads up, hey, we have this grant application coming up, and if I could come apply for that. That's happened a couple of times. Sometimes we've approached businesses like the Sheraton in Kauai. They do their table 52, I think it is.
54.
54, thank you. And they've approached us before to have that offering. Our members pay yearly due, I think it's $100, right? That's not very much, but primarily from grants. We have some wonderful grant writers that seek those out as well. So.
Okay, and then the other question, just in general terms, folks are sitting there, but there's somebody in the middle that I think needs some help, like Mr. Kubo, that level of people before anything happens. Is there any way to connect that piece before something happens? They're not too interested in signing up, they're not too interested in here, but they have that common sense knowledge of this particular area of this part of our island. And that's the first person, you would know for that common sense knowledge, you know what I mean? Is there an opportunity there, or you folks have done that?
Yeah, there's a huge need for that. We don't have enough resources to go on all the circumstances, the unforeseen things that are going to happen in our future. We need specialists and people that can volunteer their services. But the more we can collaborate in advance, so we can be on the same page, have an understanding and accountability of who we report to, the better, right? But there is a need, and yes, we're welcome to collaborate with everybody.
Councilmember DeCosta, did you have a question?
Officer Assistant Chief answered my question with the 72 hours.
Okay. And then you had one more?
Yeah, and it was in your guys' presentation. I just want to re-clarify again. KSAR is only activated when contacted by the incident commander, so you're never deployed on your own.
No, never.
Never. and we don't initiate any search and rescue unless the evidence show that we need to do that, right? There's a protocol process that initiates the whole program.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember
I have a
DeCosta.
question for the chief of fire. Chief, I just listening to all this information coming in, and your training with your personnel is much more detailed in the outdoors than it is for police. I believe police training is a little more within the city and urban areas. Maybe I'm wrong, Chief Kalani here, but I'm thinking that maybe, Chief, the question I was asking is, do you do hiring in the fire department or look at a person's background? You know, I think someone with a question there about being in the Adventure Mountain area might be an asset to you guys, right? How many of your firemen actually know some of the wilderness areas out there on Kauai when they gotta go and search and rescue, right? So just, that might be a good thing for you to look at your application process, right? Your local hiring of your personnel. You look at their background, if they have that kind of experience, might be very worthwhile one day.
Okay, Vice Chair.
Just something quick, your last slide, 35, it's just showing a black box, so I'm wondering if something misprinted.
Is this
It
video?
was where the video was.
Oh, okay, that's the video. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to just bring up one last question, then I really want to allow people to testify. But something I've heard over and over was just the choice of words, like extensive, and an extensive search, or complete. And maybe we have to be careful with the language when it goes out.
Point over, Committee Chair. We are getting close to caption. I'm not sure if you want to take it now.
I don't think so, because
Okay.
we
Just take it.
we took a picture.
Oh,
So we're
Yeah,
not-
but we didn't do a caption.
We didn't do a caption.
So
Oh.
we gotta do a caption break at 10:30, because we didn't specify the caption break, so the captioner was sitting at her seat while we were taking the picture. Versus,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the one you got to
Okay.
cut in the middle.
Just very simple answer. When we write these public statements, who writes them, and can we use more care in some of the words, like extensive and complete? That seemed to be, I heard that, repeatedly, and we weren't complete yet because you guys were still taking information. So how can we work on our wording? Because I know that was a big part of the concern that I heard from very upset people.
So for KPD, we have a public information officer who writes our press releases, and we also get assistance from the county PIOs as well. We really try our best to look at the press releases very closely to make sure that we're using the proper verbiage and being careful and respectful to the families and whoever is involved. If there was a word that was in there that may have upset someone, it was not by any means something that we wanted to do. So we try to be very careful about that. And, based on our last conversation, we're trying to just pay a little closer attention to that. But we look closely, and we try to be very careful about our releases that we send out.
Okay, thank you. And so let's take a caption break, and I'm hoping when we come back, we can allow our, pardon me? Oh, okay, we're going to take a caption break now.
10 minutes.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order, the Committee for Public Safety and Human Services. Clerk, do we have any registered speakers?
Yes, we do. We have 2 speakers today.
Who is the first
First registered speaker is Deborah Gocross.
and second?
Tristan Fensterman.
Okay, Deborah?
Aloha. Good morning. My name is Deborah Gocross, and I've been a member of Kauai Search and Rescue since 2003. And this puts me in a unique situation of being with a team that has grown through the years and has adapted to many situations and changes. I've seen the compassion, the dedication, and the determination of a team that has always strived to gain the highest knowledge and skills level. I've also seen how accepting and supportive this group of people is of their members and others. I've assisted in years in searches with people who have had Alzheimer's, unprepared visitors going on hikes, people with mental disorders, the Coloco Dam breach, Amber Jackson, and my friend and neighbor, Dave Boynton. The searches were each very different and required many people working together strategically in order to locate a person. My confidence in the people of KSAR is constant. I've seen what they do, I know how they train, and I know how they search. I appreciate their caring and support. I admire their willingness to work with the different agencies and the respect that they place in the hands of the authorities. KSAR has grown incredibly in the last 5 years. We're lucky to have Kama'aina who can come and share their Kauai experience and their knowledge, and professionals who have moved over from the mainland and have found us. The team's insistence of high standards and commitment, as well as their cohesiveness, has created a comprehensive, skilled, and devoted organization. It's incredible to see what these members can do and how they'll drop everything to go out on a search. Kauai should be very proud of what Search and Rescue has been able to achieve and how they continue to reach higher goals. You may not hear much about them, but they absolutely, hands down, are a professional search and rescue, wilderness and urban volunteer search team who is always there to help. I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say that I'm a senior. I'm 69 too. So we have some 69 seniors here today. And if you ever want to volunteer for search and rescue, there is a job for each and every one of you. We have the tier system. I'm tier 4. So for me, I can pass out flyers, I can go door to door, I can talk to people, I can bring food. So I can help too, even though I may be a little older and not able to get out into the wilderness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tristan, is that right?
Yes.
Tristan?
Chair Raposo and Council, thanks for having our team here. I appreciate the opportunity to share. I'm a prospective member, going to be deployed soon as a Tier 1 Search and Rescue ground pounder, ropes team, and I'm going to be taking part with the ASHE teaching wilderness first aid and CPR to our community. Many of you may know me from my years serving the community with the air ambulance service, Hawaii Life Flight, from 2010 to 2020, and now I run the emergency room on the west side of Kauai. And that's where I've noticed multiple members of our healthcare team there joining Kauai Search and Rescue. And they started telling me about it and asked me to get involved with my history with EMS and emergency services. And so I tried it out and was just blown away with the level of professionalism, training, their strict guideline following and adherence, and the skill set that they deploy with the team is nothing short of heroic. That they're an amazing team that I'm just now getting to get to know, and I just can't say enough positive about what a great asset they are to this island community. I appreciate the ideas that are coming forward from the council and from community members. Ideally, that would be the ultimate goal, is to work collaboratively with folks. But the recent aggression that's been expressed towards us has kind of shocked me as a community member who's just wanting to help, volunteering our time, leaving our families and our jobs to go help someone in need. But I'm honored to be here, and I appreciate you guys giving us the time to voice our feelings here.
Thank you. Do we have other members of the community who would like to speak? Tommy? Okay, Lonnie?
For the record, Lonnie Sykos. I'd like to express express my appreciation to the committee chair, to Felicia, for how well this has been run. I was involved peripherally in search and rescue when I was in the Merchant Marine. I've seen ships on fire. I've seen barges on fire here in Hawaii. Spent a day and a half with a Young Brothers barge that was on fire. And one of the things about search and rescue is you constantly have to make decisions about the benefit you can provide versus the risk that you're going to undertake. So, for example, the Young Brothers barge that lit on fire, the decision was made to let it burn out. So nobody put water on the barge. And the reason for that was to get close enough to put water on the barge, you become seriously at risk if you cause an explosion by putting water into the fire. And so the Coast Guard didn't want to lose one of our tugboats, and everybody just stood back and watched the fire burn. The problem with having amateurs get involved in search and rescue is the search and rescue professionals don't know what the amateurs bring. And so in regards to local knowledge, I hunted in East Maui for over 20 years, and most of the time I took a topographical map and a compass with me. The man that taught me my hunting grounds knew them when they had been cleared to the ground for cattle. But when I was there was nothing but tree canopy. By using a topographical map, I knew where I was. I could come home in the darkened night without a flashlight because with the aid of the map and my local knowledge, I knew where the trail was and I could follow it by feel. Some of our people on Kauai have similar knowledge in the mountain. And so for our search and rescue, perhaps if you show up at the incident and say, I have local knowledge, you should be able to demonstrate that on a topographical map of where you're going to go and why. And so at that level, the incident commanders can decide whether or not your local knowledge appears to be a benefit. But this is a huge issue of inserting, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but to insert amateurs into a professional operation always comes at high risk. Thank you.
Next person who would like to speak? Tommy?
Good morning. Sometimes you think you have a direct route to where you're
State
going.
your name. State
Oh,
your
Tommy Passerell, Lahui, Hawaii. Sometimes you think you have a direct route to where you want to go, just like I just thought I did until I saw the lady sitting right there. Basically, I want to thank all our professionals for all that they do. Our first responders, our police department, our EMS. It's a huge thank you. I'm not sure if they truly have everything that they need at their disposal to do what they're asked to do. It's very easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, and it's very easy to do, and we do it all the time. We're professional criticizers in America. So number one would be communication across all levels of who needs it. Number two would be the best equipment. Number three would be the proper training. Where I'm from in New Jersey, we used to have volunteer firefighters. I'm sure they still do. And in here, by choice, we don't. But we do have a way to get more training as far as search and rescue to be a part of a volunteer team to help do that in a professional manner. I guarantee that psychics and intuitives are not used as much as they could be. I just thought of that idea just a minute ago. So we have some very intuitive and psychic people that could be put, a free phone call to some of these people could help find people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. More people willing to speak?
Push this.
State your name.
My name is Timothy O'Rourke. I was a former member of Kauai Search and Rescue Team. I certified at the highest level. I'm not some Joe Schmo that came off the street. I'm also the only certified person that certified at the highest level when I was on that team with dogs and a person. I'm no longer certified, but I'm the only person that has found a person in the wilderness in an unknown location, personally and with my dog. Nobody on that team has done that. So I can say a bunch of negative things about their PowerPoint and how they promote themselves and how they do all these great things they say to do. They could not find Dylan 300 feet from his car. So that's all I really have to say about that. If you can't find someone 300 feet from your car, how can you do anything they say they're doing? It's a complete sham. Their dogs are worthless. Some of these guys seem like they're good. I don't really know them. This is not me against the police. This is not me against the fire. This is me telling you for the last 5 years that search and rescue in the wilderness stinks and it needs to get better. I gave a solution at the last meeting. I don't know if anyone looked at it, read it, talked about it. I wasn't invited to the closed door meeting where everyone got to make their plan. I thought this was going to be a little bit more whitewater than it was, so I appreciate that it wasn't. But if anyone would like to know how I did what I did and how they can learn how to do it too and not play the silly search and rescue game that they're pretending to do, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. That's it.
I had a question.
Okay, DeCosta?
Only because I've seen you in action. I dealt with you in Koke when you helped us find one of our items, little things. How do you lose your certification? Once you get certified, you can.
So you got to certify every 2 years.
Okay, thanks.
So once I left the team, I was blocked from doing that. I could have paid someone to fly in. Basically, certification is a pay-to-play scheme right now. These people are paying people to come and certify them, or they're flying to mainland. They're getting people to come in that are like them and appreciate them. If there was a real certification, like a real person that knew what was going on, and you were given an NASAR evaluator, you were given her number and you talked to her, and she'll tell you exactly the same thing I'm saying. And their most recent evaluators, you were told you could be put in contact with them, and they'll tell you the same thing. They have no business being in the wilderness on Kauai, and the NASAR evaluator will tell you that. If I would have made a.
Thank you.
I would have made a thing too, like they did, if I knew I was allowed to do that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, more testifiers?
I wasn't actually going to do this, but.
Okay, state your name.
My name is Sasha Kane.
Sorry.
This is regarding my mother that wasn't brought up, which she should have been brought up in one of the names for the research. I do agree with them that when they do come to missing people, KPD, some of their protocols are not great at all. My mom's incident was back in October. Thank you. 21. My mom went missing October 7th. KPD, the investigator that was involved, to me, did not care at all about my mother. I am very thankful and grateful for the whole community here on Kauai because they were the ones that made a lot of help for us, me and my family. Being that I was in the hospital at that time, my daughter was giving birth that weekend when my mom went missing. We searched everywhere, you know, our detective that was on the case. I felt like he should have been more professional of what he's a detective. This is a missing person. My mom has been missing for over 3 days now. They actually found her car on the 12th. That is what, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5 days. Not once has there ever been a phone call to any of these search teams for my mom. There is a lot of questions that I do have for them. I did want to meet up with them, and I was hoping that they were going to be here so that some of them could answer my questions, because I was sitting here listening to some of the stuff that he was mentioning of what they do on their missing person searches, which half of that stuff that he stated was never arose from my mother, which I want to know why. What is the difference between my mother and everybody else? Why does my mother not get the same treatment as everybody else did? If it was me, we probably could have found her earlier or knew something. Yeah. On the 16th is when my mom's body decomposed. Bones. Can you guys imagine that? Just imagine, yeah, your mom missing. You looking for your mom. You telling these detectives, hey, something's wrong with my mom. Look for her. What does it tell me? Don't worry, she'll be back. What do you mean she'll be back? Her car is found 4 days later. Anything? No. Don't worry, she'll be back. Are you serious? I'm telling you, as her daughter, I know my mom. The whole investigation, what do? They found my mom's car. 30 minutes, they take a dog into the parking lot. What did they mention? 72 hours, correct? We have to discuss to stop a search. 30 minutes took them right in a parking lot. My mom was found right in the back of the bushes. A little bit more effort would have been able to find my mom. Phone calls, the detective tells me, oh, can you call the Verizon? How is it that me as a daughter gotta do your work? You is getting paid to do this job, not me. But what do? Because I take it a little bit more seriously than versus this detective. I go make all the phone calls. You know, we called the search team, and you know what they told me? Oh, KPD has not called us, but you know what? We're on standby, so if KPD does call, don't worry, we're ready to send out the search team. 2 days later, call back. Nope. KPD has not response. My mom was missing from the 7th, found by teenagers. This is down Kukui'ula. Kukui'ula Shopping Center is where my mom was found, behind there. Her car was inside of that mall. And they do know, there is in the reports, that my mom's car was moved. My mom was already deceased. Did they have an effort or an attempt to go and move forward to even try and see? No, they left it as it was. Noted before that it was a situation like how every single one that pretty much happens here. Every single, well, majority of it. I have a lot of families. I'm not the only one that has dealt through this investigations with these detectives. We all feel as, you know, people don't really understand until they actually been in the situation. Then they will know what, because I have been dealing it for 3 years. And it's very sad that these guys get paid and not do nothing. I have went out, I have done everything. Let me tell you, I can put a whole case together of just my mom's situation, and I'm not even lying about that. But it's sad, as me as a daughter, I have to go out and I have to go make phone calls. We had to call the Coast Guard because we thought it was a fishing accident. She drowned. No attempt to call the fishing boats. We had to do that. We had to call dogs, search teams for sea. And they are right. They cannot do nothing until KPD does that. I feel they need to step up their game and they need to take it into consideration and really think about like the families and what we all gotta go through. You know what I mean? I'm sorry,
And
but thanks.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, very sorry. Anybody else?
Aloha. My name is Noelle Hamilton Kambe. I'm the current president of Kauai Search and Rescue. I'm a canine handler for KSAR and also with California Task Force 4. First off, I'd like to just say that the one thing that I can agree with Tim on is that search and rescue in Hawaii has to change. It's just not where it needs to be. How the different path I've taken with the team is the difference between me and Tim. I'm not just complaining, we're actually trying to do something. There are no state standards for SAR in Hawaii, none. And so, you have fire and police, they have their 72 hours, and then that's it. And so the importance of volunteer search and rescue teams around the state is paramount. And the fact that, and kudos to KPD for having an MOU with us. They are the only one in the state that has utilized volunteer SAR teams. And there are volunteer SAR teams on most islands. On Oahu, Maui, Big Island, they don't get utilized. Why? Because of liability concerns. So we're actually one step ahead over here, although we need to do better as a community, and that is obvious. I'm hoping that folks listening here today join our team. We need more boots on the ground. We need vetted people. Did you know that murderers insert themselves into searches? And it has happened in Hawaii. So we need vetted people, people that aren't going to go off the rails on social media. Tim, I have to just address this. I'm sorry. But he quit the team years ago, and he's had some sort of vendetta against me and posts about me all the time for like the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know where he's getting his information. It's certainly not in reality. And he doesn't know our team. So I think we have a really good thing going, and I'm just hoping that others volunteer. We do have people with local knowledge on our team, and we have conservationists that get helicoptered in. So we do have people that are knowledgeable about the deep woods, but we need more. We have a good group. A growing medical component. And I hope that the state can put some legislation in place so that there is more accountability across the state, not just us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there more? Olivia?
Hi, my name is Olivia Brownell. Dylan Wagner was my partner. I'm grateful for all the efforts that were exhausted in the search for him. I'm very impressed by the slideshow and all the resources that Kauai has when people go missing. With all that being said, I find it ironic that it was the community less than an hour after we started our search that found him 300 feet from his vehicle. After he was found and the police reopened the area, I went up there and just sat by a tree to spend some time there, and I saw a family going up that same trail, a tourist family. And I thought, man, a few hours earlier, that tourist family would have seen something horrific, and I don't understand. I'm sure there's a good reason why the search was called off so soon, but a human is still a human, whether their heart is beating or not, that's just kind of what I wanted to say. I also thought of a solution would be one of the things that the police I was talking to was saying about, I was like, could you guys fly the drone? I kept saying the drone. And they have to get a clearance from the tour companies. And I thought, you know, if there was like an emergency signal, like a alert for, you know, to bring down their tour companies, because I just feel like a missing human is more important than tourism, what the tour guides are doing. And I feel like they would understand that, like, hey, we're looking for a person. We're going to put up the drones because it's such a time, it's a precious time during that. With all that being said, I thank you guys for holding this and wanting change and wanting to, you know, to change things. And I appreciate everybody's time and effort towards this. So thank you.
Jill?
Still morning. Good morning, Council. Jill Lowry for the record. I think we have two subjects. I think we have continued need for growth. I think every department within the county acknowledges their own areas that they have shortcomings where they need to improve upon. I think KSAR recognizes that. I think it's come out here. So that's item one. Item two is a particular individual that's created a lot of chaos. I want to start by saying I did watch the first video of what happened here, and Olivia, which I've never met, and I'm a lovely lady, I totally agree with her on the tourism issue. There should be nothing that stands in the way of putting the birds down or redirecting them in an area that has a missing person. That seems pretty reasonable. I also agree with her and Evan that technology is super important when we're dealing with this kind of an issue. And again, is this something that the county can help support? The equipment aspect. I also want to address and fully support the use of hunters. That was brought out by Evan, as well as some other folks here on the council. There is geographical knowledge that cannot be replaced in that, but at the same time, there has to be standards and some sort of process for that. So I think hopefully that will be worked on with time. I don't think that is necessarily KSAR's Juliana to address that. There's some challenges with that need to be respected, but could that be done with KPD? Possibly. But there is knowledge there that could be beneficial even if it's on a consultant basis and not in the field. What I will say though, and this is my one major point, to quote Tim, I have a strong desire for revenge. Revenge has no place in emergency management or first responders at any level, on any department, at any time. The people in KPD, KFD, EMS, KSAR, Ocean Safety, National Guard, so on and so on and so on, those people have integrity, they have commitment, they have people's best interest at heart, even if they occasionally fail. So I would say put all people together, minus Tim. He cannot bring that level of bullying, disrespect, and anger that seems to be nursed for 5 years to the table. Everybody else should have their voice heard. Thank you.
Okay. Iris?
Yeah. Hi there, good morning. My name is Iris Nolting. I'll be really brief. I was just a part of the whole search for Dylan, and I'm here to support trying to help improve the efforts, not just for search and rescue, not just for the police department, but just for our community. I also just wanted to make sure that the council and everybody's aware that Dylan's father wrote a letter and Dylan's cousin Sarah wrote a letter that I felt, if read, that could really spark some ideas and just help kind of alleviate all this tension for search and rescue. And just try and get some clear definitions on protocol for if somebody goes missing, the whys. There's a lot of hubbub and talk of suicide. Well, that's still a person and there's still families and there still needs to be closure sought after for somebody's life that is taken by their own. So I just wanted to, again, just be here to help Kauai community improve search and rescue across the board.
Thank you. Renee?
Aloha, Council. Renee Hamilton Combe, resident of Kauai for many, many years. A couple of things I want to say from my perspective of a nonprofit, right? And using volunteers in this nonprofit of Kauai Search and Rescue. I think they got some of their story out in terms of how do they fund themselves. When you think about this all-volunteer team, they pay dues. They pay to be a part of a volunteer team out there searching to help our community. They have gotten grants for equipment that helped bring that young man up from Kauai. Without grants, without support, that would not have happened. So, you know, I think the other thing to think about is how much a search and rescue team that is trained, that is disciplined, that meets standards does for the county. And to have that part of the equation. I know because my spouse, Noel, I can only tell you thousands of hours of training, thousands of dollars of our personal money goes into the work, the dedication, the learning, the traveling that she has done to meet those standards. And there should be something to be said about standards. They're for safety. They're not only for our community, but for the handlers, for the dogs, for other volunteers that may be out there. And to disrespect or say that that doesn't mean anything is not helpful, and it's not accurate. Noel is going to be going to North Carolina as part of a FEMA team. You have that kind of resource on a volunteer team. Please understand how much value and how much they bring to our community and what that does for our county. And to not get veered off with misinformation, partial picture, because that doesn't do anybody any good, or anger or revenge. That's not what this is about. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you for your time and the opportunity. Thank you.
Any further testifiers? Evan?
Good morning, Council Chairman. Evan Manini for the record. Thank you again, everyone, for showing up today. I came the last time, take off of work, sacrifice a lot of time. I'm a volunteer too when I go out and do volunteer to help people, help maintain trails with Clayton and other things that I've done in the past volunteering. Lifetime resident here in Kauai, and all I want to say is that if we don't keep up with technology, we're going to be left behind. You know, we can't keep utilizing old technology to be more effective, more efficient. We had a little bit about earlier about helicopters. Yeah, they come under federal guidelines, so I don't even know if the state and county has any say over it. However, if there is a down helicopter, All these helicopters will fly in a whole different direction, clearing that area and space. It should be the same for someone on the ground. I don't think the person on the ground is any different victim opposed to the people or passengers or pilots that were in that chopper that did go down. So we should have like a criteria, at least a buffer, where you can or cannot or should not be in that area because we have operations going on. Now I understand more clearly, and thank you for clarifying today of who really calls the shots. KPD comes in, they make the shots, but if it takes them 10 hours to decide when they're going to come in, that 10 hours is removed from that 72 hours, which could be crucial in finding someone that still might be a recovery, whether it's a recovery or it's going to be saving someone. So this time frame of 72, I'm sure it was well thought over. Maybe it needs to be reconsidered and maybe switched up a little bit more. And I would like to talk to really, like I say, some of these people making decisions, because if it was a family member of mine that was lost, I'm a good Samaritan, I'm going to cross that line. I'm a native practitioner as a native Hawaiian, I'm going to cross that line. And if you want to arrest me, so be it, because I know where I'm going, I know my abilities. A few years ago when Sam was lost, I went up. And it's the same thing. I had the day off, I had the time, I went in. And part of the search and rescue that were there said that I couldn't go on my own. I did say that this is my credentials, this is who I am, and they were at least gracious enough to allow me to go. I asked if they had a GPS unit. They let me borrow one. Every place I went, I tracked it. I dropped waypoints and things that I did think was of concern or importance. I also took photos. At the end of that day, I sent an email, photos of what I had to documentate where it was that I was worried about, or maybe some type of clue that they may want to follow up on. A couple of the days later, I went back to try and follow up to look for Sam. I ran into Clayton that day. We were up over by Pihia. When we went in, I separated from Clayton because I had my own mission of what I wanted to do that day. Well, Clayton ended up coming across some blowflies, which usually means it's something that's there, that's decomposing. On my way back, doubling back, I ran into Clayton. Is when he did tell me that, okay, he found this situation here, and they're going to brought in the dog, and the dog sensed something, so they were going to track it and trace it out. Well, being trained in wildland firefighting in the past, from my previous jobs that I had, we all know that wind will travel different directions, different times of the day. Where the dog was midday to late. Wind was already coming up the valley of Kalalau, which means probably something was down in the uluhe or over the cliff or lodged inside where it's not, you can't find it or you can't see it. They had a drone, they deployed it, they couldn't find it in the thick vegetation. Clayton mentioned later, people went down rappelling, they tried to search, they couldn't find it. I did make a mention to one of the members of this crew here is that you guys need to go under with the dogs and search from below and go up, because he may have just fallen further down and the smell may be carrying up the mountain. I waited for days, nobody called me. I think a week later I got a call. I was already working. I worked in Kalalau before, so I know the area. I know where the LZ is. I know where you can land. I know where you can go up in the valley and check. Again, I know things. I'm not certified. Not in all the things you guys require, but it's great you guys do it. But certifications don't find people. It just keeps things more organized. That's all it does. Okay? And again, we need that. That is true. I do believe in education is super important. It is. And thank you again for all you folks share. But what I like to see more is when I see you present your GPS tracks. Well, where's the tracks that you guys had for all of the searches? Can I evaluate it? Can I see it? Because I worked in conservation. We would work with invasive species, endangered plants, endangered birds. And I know about topo. I know about reading GPS units, waypoints, tracks. I understand a little bit about that too, because if I'm a volunteer and we can coincide, and if I know you didn't check a drain, then I'll go check the drain since you folks can't get to it. Drones itself, I use it at home. I live at Pu'apai, Hawaiian Homes, homesteader, second generation. Joe Manini Sr. is my dad. I use the drones to go out and patrol our area. We have a lot of illegal activity there. I just go to check because, my son's worried about me now. Is Dad, somebody's going to shoot you? Because things are changing here on Kauai. It's not the same as it was when we grew up. younger. That's been years ago. So I use the drone for my safety, so I can see if someone's there. I let them know I'm here. You know, I'm here. I'm on the property. I'm taking a picture.
You're gonna need to sum up.
You know, the thing is that I sacrificed a lot of time coming here, and I understand you got 3 minutes.
You got 6.
Well, here's the deal, is that we locked down the place when we're trying to find someone. However, when Clayton and I came across Dylan's situation, there were a lot of flies. It was fully decomposed. And I just heard this morning, which kind of upset me, is that there were children in the area shortly after. Why wasn't the area closed down? Because flies have bacteria. And it wasn't a pretty sight what we saw. So all I'm saying is that why they reopen it with people come out there and they're eating their sandwiches or doing what they're doing? Why wasn't there a lockdown for furthermore to kind of decontaminate the area? Because it was known right there what happened and the situation. And it's really sad that, you know, things aren't organized because this is a modern day age.
6 minutes. Thank you so much, and I'm sure that you can be utilized.
I actually have a question.
Oh, okay.
Clarifying question.
Clarifying question.
And I know we went way over, you know.
I'm sorry, because like I said, I get things to do. I've sacrificed time, and thank you, Billy.
You mentioned your years of experience in the field outside of your duty with conservation. You
Yes.
also mentioned conservation and using waypoints and GPS.
Yes.
I'm just asking you how important it is to have experience when you go to all this training. Because sometimes you get the training. Is that enough, just the training, or does the experience have a play with the training? Simple yes or no.
You know, Billy, it's important when you speak with the technology. Because just someone with memory of checking a drain, they can't label it on a map exactly where you look. So carrying the unit can definitely put you in the system. Yeah, and then with phone technology, with GPS on phones, if you have service, it'll actually track it. If you don't have service, then you don't.
Thank you.
But it is important to have both merged together for better communication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else for the first? Oh, you have your hand up.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Dishana Lintafiti, but a lot of the community knows me as Shana. Born and raised here, joined KSR 3.5 years ago. Yeah, a while ago. I am a canine handler for Kauai Search and Rescue. Sitting here, listening to everybody's conversations and everything that's going on. And I look across the room and everybody keeps, like to me, everybody's saying there's a difference between community and us volunteers. We are the community. We are the people. Everybody sitting in here makes up the community. So there's no difference between us being in a volunteer, professional volunteer standpoint than Uncle Mel sitting across from me right now. We're all part of the community. And, you know, I wasn't going to talk today for the simple fact that the backlash that we've been getting as a team and my face being blasted on social media as well as my pup. Like, I spend hours, I'm speaking for myself because I spend hours and hours and hours with my dog. I spend hours on the computer doing all of these certifications. I travel, like I'm traveling in December to go to California to go to a foundation that I can help use my dog and practice with my dog. But I just don't want that to be belittled and taken away from me because we spend all of this time. I took time away from work, my family. I constantly take time away from my family by doing this volunteer stuff. My grandfather's a big pillar of the community in Kauai, Joe Grace. If I can do half the things that he did in the community now, as the person I am today, I want to do it. And joining Search and Rescue, I never knew had something like this before. But coming back and wanting to give back to the community, this is what I ended up doing. I coach like my grandfather did. I coach T-ball now. I've coached high school here. I've coached in college. Now it's time for me to give back, and this is all I know how to do. And I do this to make my grandfather happy and proud of me. So the time that I spend, I just don't want it to be belittled. And the team that we work with, all the sacrifices that we make as well, like I just want to put it out there that we're all the community. We are everybody. We are the community. We are the people. So, you know, all the bad blood and all of these things that are happening, maybe we do need to sit down. Maybe we do need to have these conversations. I can't take away everybody's hunting experience. I go hunting myself, but I can't take away anybody's hunting experience. When we get up there and we're searching, I can't sit there and tell you, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like Uncle Evan said, if everybody works together, it'd be good. And that's all I have to say. I really appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for a first time? Two of you have had a second time. Jody Lynn's daughter, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Sasha.
Sasha, forgive me. I just thinking about your mother. Okay. All right, we've got Clayton and then we
First.
gave two. People got two turns. Put yours together out of respect for.
Clayton Kubo, Waimea, Kauai. Yes, I really never like say this, but I'm gonna say this. Okay. Yes, I read social media posts. I saw the negatives, I saw the positives, and you know, majority of them was basically saying, you know, the real deal. You know, I was there that day, August 11th. I was there on August 8th even. I was there on August 9th even, at Loop Road. August 9th was my mother's birthday. And I was out there trying to, you know, locate Dylan Wagner, at least try. But without all the information, without at least 99% information, it's like going on a wild goose chase. Wild goose chase. So on Sunday, we had the right information. And we, as volunteers, okay, we did what needed to be done. And that's all it is, should be. It shouldn't be like one chip on one shoulder or all these certifications and all this kind of stuff. If somebody will call me one amateur, okay, call me one amateur to my face. I've been out there hiking constantly, hunting for about, I would say 16 years now. 16 years. We're talking hiking 4 or 5 times a month. Hunting maybe 3, 4 times a week sometimes. Okay? And if somebody would say, Clayton, brah, you don't belong here because you're not certified, then you know what? Then so be it. From this day on, if somebody tells me to my face, brah, you cannot be here, you cannot be on the search and rescue because you're not certified, then you know what? Honestly, I will not show up already. Okay? And if I look back 20 years about, and I never like to say this, but 20 years was the first time ago I had go out and search for one hunter. Hey, I'm still here. I never get lost. You know, technology, I heard people saying they get thousands and thousands of dollars worth of technology and equipment and all that. You guys come look in my boxes what I get. Technology and all that jazz. So in the end, I'm hopeful that we all can throw the chips off our shoulders and figure this out. That's the way I gotta view this. This is, what is this? The third time I come in here already. Third time. Or was it the second? No, this is the third time coming here on this issue. Felicia, I see the red light.
All right.
But I just like, you know,
You're
finish
still-
up.
okay,
I just like
let's
finish
get
up.
to these other three.
Okay? So in the end, if we cannot come together and figure this out, then no, I just finishing up.
No.
Okay?
Oh,
And then I will do my other three later. If we cannot come together, other than that, no make sense I keep coming back. Yeah. And yes, I had a guy that had donate with my own money one harness for one dog for Kauai search and rescue. Yeah. Yeah, because I really believed back then that, hey, this is the people that going find. But hey, Dylan Wagner, he was less than 100 yards because I range find all that points in the middle of the parking lot. I'll be back.
Okay, and just a word on why I gave some double is because they were right there in the crucial moment, trauma for the loss of your mother. You had raised your hand. Yeah, and what?
Aloha, my name is Penny Fernandez.
What's your first name? Penny?
Penny Fernandez. It seems to me that part of the issue is just learning how to utilize all our resources and how we can go about doing that within the limitations of our law enforcement or response agencies. There is a process on a federal level. It's a FEMA resource typing resource that you can utilize. And we currently use it in KSAR. You would have seen it in the type 1 through 4. I would speak to these gentlemen behind me, but I have to address you. I totally appreciate their capabilities, and it's a matter of placing that resource type into one of the entities that are currently qualified to respond. So using that FEMA resource typing or any type of search and rescue already established typing, they can either create their own nonprofit organization and come into that incident command system using that resource typing as their own entity if they'd like, to be able to provide the incident command host a resource to use that will give them knowledge of that capability that they're offering. So that is what I have to say about that. I'm totally for all available resources. In the event of an incident, though, we have to utilize and know what the capabilities are. So it is possible for everyone to come into making themselves available using this incident command type system. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Aloha, Butch Keahiolalo, retired fire captain. Just want to say thanks to everyone that's here. Most of I know everybody here. I used to be roommates, and Tim was my roommate, and we used to teach high school together at Kauai. So, I've been getting a lot of calls in the last month or so. I think one of the things I'd like to bring up is maybe it's the MOU. These guys can't search once the 72, or once KPD suspends the search, they can't continue. So maybe the MOU needs to be amended so that maybe that one officer who's the investigative officer, whether you call it keep the case open or whatever it is, they remain the investigative officer that's controlling ICS, so that these guys could have a liaison or the team leader, tier 1 or whatever, they can continue their search with that officer being the ICS, because they can't operate once, once the search is suspended. But, I mean, searches are suspended because, I mean, KFD is doing, 7,000 calls a year. Being on rescue for most of my career, we can't fly in the helicopter every day, all day, every day, right? I mean, yeah, it's an active search, but we're limited with resources. Now, a lot of agencies have wilderness search and rescue teams. There's 38 whatever FEMA teams in the whole country that have canines. They run directly with fire department, KPD, civil service teams. So I think in this situation, my suggestion would be just to look at the MOU, see if it can be amended so that all these resources, I mean, you've got 4,000 hours of training, but they're not able to do a lot of hours of actual response time, they could search for weeks, possibly. With a large enough team, they could search for weeks. And you're doing maybe you search a couple days and you share your GPS coordinates and you search when you're on your day off or whatever. So that's just my suggestion is I would just look at the MOU. That's what's probably kind of tying everybody's hands. And then I believe Tim does have a nonprofit. Maybe someone could help him, maybe do what he needs to do so that we could use all of the resources and all of the local experts, which we do use in the fire department. We always use local knowledge in the fire department, whether it's a brush fire, access, search and rescue, all that stuff. So that's pretty much all I had to say.
I have a clarifying question. You're speaking about the memorandum of understanding?
Yeah, sorry, the memorandum of understanding, yeah.
And you brought up Tim's recommendation. I read your recommendation. It was to talk to Butch and bring him into some leadership because of your position in KFD, Kauai Fire Department. So I was unclear what you just said right there relative to the hunters and hikers and Kauai Search and Rescue. In your memorandum of understanding change, I understood you to say allow them to be after the official piece with police is done, but did you say where it works with the hunters and hikers?
Well, I think, I don't have the answer for that.
Okay. I just wondered.
For fire, I think Chief Gibson mentioned we've always used local assets for access and knowledge for rescues, for search and rescues. I mean, that's just, there's and related to what Billy DaCosta said, hiring firefighters that have, local knowledge in that area. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are working at the station in their community for that reason. They want to be close to home. They know that area really well. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Butch.
I haven't asked for seconds yet. Is anybody else? I thought I saw one other hand up. First time. All right. Second, and what I am hoping, because I did allow a few people a second time, that when we bring things up, that it is really fresh information, because we're kind of running long. But okay, Tommy.
Well, I learned a lot in the last hour or so. I lose track of time sometimes, but one of the things is search and rescue should not need KPD's permission to start a search. I just learned that recently on KKCR. Another thing is if a search is called off by KPD, search and rescue, the volunteers should be able to continue a search. That's based on a lot of freedom right there. Another thing is, why don't we get our National Guard involved in searches, and also our people that are candidates for the police department and fire department? They should all be involved in a search, and a lot longer than 72 hours. What's the magic of 72 hours? Unless the person is found or they're found in a condition where they're no longer having a heartbeat, then let's continue to search as long as volunteers demand a search. Who is FEMA? I don't trust FEMA as far as I could throw the Pentagon. Now, another thing is we should have a state-of-the-art training facility right on Kauai or one of our neighboring islands. We should set the standard for searches nationwide, maybe even worldwide. We have some of the best firefighters or some of the best water people in this country right in the Hawaiian Islands. Why can't we do the same for searches? We can get our military involved. We can teach people CPR even at middle school level on up. And we could teach our young keiki how to search also. Thank you.
All right. Second time, if you haven't gotten 6 minutes, there's only 3 that have. Second time to speak. Olivia?
My name is Olivia Brownell. Evan told me I should share this, but one of the things that when I went back up there after he'd been found and the area had been opened again, the hazmat suits were still in the garbage cans by the picnic tables. And I guess that's not right. And I also wanted to just formally again thank Tim and Evan and Clayton and everybody who helped find him, and also that let's keep the main thing, like it's about finding missing people, because this is going to happen again. Someone's going to go missing, and that's what's important here. That's the only thing that really matters, is like giving the family closure and finding that person. Everything else is kind of irrelevant, as far as, all the feuds and stuff. And I just hope, I hope that this case changes things, and we look at things that don't serve us anymore and replace them with things that do, and protocols that were protocols. Is this still serving us? Do we need to change things? And it sounds like things need to change, because what's been going on isn't necessarily working. And so I just want to be a part of something that does work. And if I can help in that in any way, I would love to. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Second time.
I won't cry, I promise.
Well, Sasha, you kind of got 2 times. You already got your second time. I put it together because you had so much to say.
Oh,
and
I have a lot more.
Yeah, I respected your heartbreak, and I didn't cut you off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a quick question for KPD.
Okay.
It's after Olivia said something in her first testimony, and others have brought it up regarding the drones. I just wanted some clarification on, we're not allowed to put up the drones unless we get permission from the tour companies?
Kalani K for the record, Kauai PD. I don't know all the regulation when it comes to drones. I'm not the drone expert, but I do know that if you're in a certain proximity to the airport, you cannot. That particular area that was being referred to,
It's very far from the airport.
Right. So we would file a statement, I don't know the proper terminology, with the FAA. And then the FAA is the one that would push that information out to aircrafts that we would be operating in the area.
Good.
That's
I would just ask that we explore that, and I mean, that is ludicrous to me. If we gotta go through all of that to get those damn helicopters to change their path because we're looking for a missing person, I think that is just, I cannot believe that's the statute. I cannot believe that's the regulation. And there has to be a way to get them away so we can operate our drones. So if you would follow up on that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
I did, Chair, I did speak with Division of Forestry and Wildlife and ask a little bit more detailed on that question. We can still look at it further, but DOFA has a lot to do with how that happens. And there's so much helicopter activity right in that area.
I don't care
Okay,
if
well,
there's
that's-
helicopter activity.
So that's why.
That's my point, I
That's
think.
why they can't just stick the drones up without
Right,
communicating,
but I-
because they don't want to crash a helicopter. That's why.
Yeah, and I don't want to,
All right, that's what I had learned, because I did ask. It's a
I don't
good
think
question.
that affecting our visitors' helicopter ride should get in the way of somebody that's missing. So
Okay.
we'll pursue, we'll look at that. I
You
think that's
didn't-
crap.
You didn't have your full second 3 minutes, but let's go, please be brief out of respect
Oh,
for
I'm gonna
everybody.
be brief. I'm gonna
Okay.
be brief. Okay, Clayton Kubo, Waimea, Kauai. I agree with all what Mel was saying right now, no doubt about it. But if it is over DOFA lands, then you gotta get one special use permit to the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Because Sunday, August 11th, we was going, Evan was going to go and fly his drone under a tree line. I already told Division of Forestry and Wildlife what we was going to do. Even the day that I went in on the 8th, I already was communicating with the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Okay, so Division of Forestry and Wildlife, Kauai, they exactly knew, even as far as I went up as to the administrator of DOFA, Division of Forestry and Wildlife, State of Hawaii. Okay. You know, I only can speak for myself at this point in time. When I go do this kind of stuff, okay, again, reiterating, I am a volunteer. But I make sure people know I'm not just out there prancing around. I'm not just out there trying to destroy evidence or wash evidence away like a social media post had claimed. So in the end, just to clarify, yes, I saw negative posts on both sides, not just on one side. Okay. That's all it is. We need to get this clear and straight. And you know what? Then again, you guys like sit down on a table? Let's go. We will sit down. We will hash this out. We'll figure it out. Because in the end, can you guys rate your quality of service for Dylan Wagner's case? That's what it boils down to. Yeah. Mahalo nui, aloha.
Okay. All right. Council discussion? I call the meeting back to order. Chair, this was really your agenda item. I'd like to give you the lead on this.
Okay, I just have a few comments. And, you know, the one person in this room that should be the most upset is Olivia. She should be the most upset. And she was so civil. She was so helpful. She's offering her help to a situation where she should be pissed off beyond belief. So I appreciate that, Olivia. You know, you said, I hope this case changed things. And I hope so too. And I think everybody that needs to be in the room is in the room. So I hope that this case changes things. I think that we can all acknowledge the fact that, you know, we could have done better. As the gentleman here with the hat said, we learned so much in the last hour, and I think we all did. But you know, and this is where, you know, I apologize if I offend anybody, but guys, we all gotta grow up. We all gotta grow up. We all gotta be part of the same community. I mean, I cannot, you know, I think about this. I said, you know, what if that was my son? What if that was some elected official's son, some senator's son, or some House of Representative's son? Would the case have been handled the same way? Your mom, bless her soul. I listened to that, I'm not like crying, you know, but, you know, resources. That's why we're here. This body cannot go out, maybe some of us can, but cannot go out and physically search. But we have the legislative authority to make sure we get resources in place to make these things happen. But we don't know what we don't know. This whole thing with the drone, it pisses me off, Chief. Not you, the regulation. Like, are you serious? We gotta go home. 2 helicopters. We cannot disrupt your vacation while we try to search for this person. I mean, I think one phone call to the tower should be it, from the chief of police or from the fire chief, or one call to the tower is like, hoy, we got an active search going on, like you guys do on the state highways when we get on car accidents. Sorry, I don't care, you get an appointment, the road is closed. There's no difference. Well, so maybe when tourists, we don't like upset the tourists. The hell with the tourists. Take that helicopter somewhere else and let us do our operation to go find this missing person. I didn't know that was the case, but I will find out. And if we got to get our congressional delegation involved, we get our congressional. Maybe we just get too many helicopters. Yeah, maybe we just get too many helicopters flying in that area. And I don't know too many helicopters to take the tourists under the tree line anyway. Boy, let's go take a look at the roots of this tree. Get your cameras ready. Pathetic. So, another thing, Sasha, right, said, and this was my thing all along, and I shared this with the chief in with the group when we had the meeting, and it wasn't a back door, closed door. Anyway, it was a meeting to discuss how we move forward. But what you said was very important, and it has always been my concern, even from when I was on the police force 40 years ago. Holy crap, I'm old. We gotta be concerned about the family. You cannot ignore the fact that when somebody's missing, people are hurting. People are stressing. People don't know what to think. And we gotta put our focus on that aspect of it. Yeah, you let the technical part, you let the Kauai Search and Rescue do their thing, and you let the hunters do their thing, whatever. But we gotta make sure we preserve that relationship between that family so we can provide the comfort that they understand or they know that we are doing our best to find your loved one. That is, to me, paramount. Because I was a cop long enough and had investigated enough missing persons cases, and sometimes you never find them. And I just can't imagine not having that closure. So I think we gotta really focus on that emotional aspect of any missing person. Or I don't care what the circumstances are. Oh, cannot. Sorry. I mean, you can ask the committee chair. But yeah, the rules are very specific. So apologize. But yeah, so I hope, Olivia, I hope this case changes things. I welcome your offer. I hope some of the decision makers in this room take you up on that offer, because I think you as well, Sasha, provide a valuable resource on how the family feels, and maybe what can we do the next time to help that part of it, because it's just as important as finding the person. Thank you.
Council member Kagawa?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just to echo Mel, I mean, we had two cases today that everybody's hearing, and obviously, in retrospect, I think not one being, I hate to be like a couch coach, but I'm not a police officer. I don't know all the protocols, but it seems that couldn't do a better job initially. So now, how do we change some of our tactics so that perhaps we can get the initial searches out by the professionals here and some of our experts in our community, so that we can find that body that is so close to the area, and that we're not left with wondering why or what we got to change to get there the faster results. And I know police and fire, you guys always try your best to serve the community. Sometimes it's just maybe our protocols are not changed for liability or whatever reasons, but we just heard like 2 stories about if we change our side and think about the girlfriend, the daughter, and think about what they're going through, then how do we change going forward instead of just staying with the same strategies that are not working? So I mean, we have the experts here. We gotta give them the green light, as quickly as possible, and then we get them to work together. We guys apparently having some conflict with, but we all work for the same purpose in the end. It's a community, and I heard that from Penny, and I heard that from Shauna. And Shauna was a great, softball player, and I know her family very well. So, we got local guys embedded in both sides. Now, how do we listen now? Now we gotta listen, and then let's say, the heck with somebody's liability. Let's use our professional judgment and knowing that, upon our initial investigation, we need to go out to our resources and find this body. Because a lot of times, if you look closely around by history, it's right around there. So that's all I get to say. And thank you for listening. Like I say, easy to talk after, but I think when we solve or we make changes based on past history, that's when the community appreciates us. Is that we hear you and we're gonna fix the problem instead of just be here and like we answering the phone like we don't care. So thank you.
Councilmember DaCosta?
I'm gonna try to take a little different approach to this whole meeting. I feel like we have a lot of answers after the fact, but I believe that there's some solutions we can put in place, and it's gonna be a tough discussion right now, I can tell you guys, because earlier we had a couple certificates. That's what we call our feel-good council meeting. So we all feel good to praise somebody. Today it seems like there's a lot of stuff happening within this room that a lot of people are not happy. So I'm speaking from experience. I'm not the fireman. I'm not the policeman. I'm not the SARS guy. I'm not even the dog wrestler guy. But I'm a pig hunter. And that was mentioned many times. And I tell you why I believe a pig hunter sets at the highest standard. Mr. Kubu and Mr. Abbott knows me personally. I hunted probably one of the longest on this island as a man that's still hunting in a game right now. We use dogs. Dogs find pigs. Pigs usually hide in areas where there's no humans. So we stumble across areas that none of you even hike on a GPS map. The reason I'm telling you guys this is that we gotta learn to work together. I heard some negative talk about Tim, personally, against Tim. I like Tim. I didn't hear any negative talk about anybody else but Tim. I think two ladies in the front and Tim should rectify something. I really believe that. I think we can learn from Tim. Tim can learn from you guys, and you guys gotta try to come together. It seems like a little bit of a power struggle. I'm sorry, that's what I'm seeing. And I would like you guys to work together, right? This is our meeting. We want you guys to take something constructive out of this. Let's work together. Why I can say this is because I believe when Mr. Henderson or Enrique, what if that guy was missing in the mountains up in Cocaine?
Martinez.
Right, that guy right there. They said maybe he went down White Falls. And I got a call from Roger Mills and Jay Pablo, and they said they'll ride the mules or look in Waihulu. I used to come down from inside White Falls in high school, walk around Waimea Valley. You guys know about that trail? You can come down to the One Razor Ridge. You guys don't, but we do. We don't have to have the title that says, hey, we the professional certified people. We all work together. We make the calls. We go look for each other. We don't need the recognition. We just don't make Kauai a safer place. And if you ask me what is more important, experience versus hours of training or certifications, I'm gonna ask you guys, if you was to take all your hours of certification outside of your laptop or your training, go into the mountains and try to put that training to use, would you appreciate an experienced person by your side? If you can tell me no, then I say training more important. But if you can tell me yes, having an experienced person by my side, Mr. Kubu, Mr. Wayne, they're experienced people. Mr. Rock, they're experienced people by your side. Let's not get into a who's better match. Take each other's strengths, support each other's weaknesses, and make Kauai a better place. Thank you.
Councilmember Carvalho, did you have your hand raised?
I just appreciate the discussion overall, having been involved in different levels, but just here in this chambers and knowing everybody's responsibility, if you will, and need to collaborate and develop a solid team from the community standpoint, from the nonprofit standpoint, or the volunteer standpoint, and of course, our county government. Just hearing the different stories, but at the same time, and of course, Sasha and the team back there, I mean, just the emotional side of it, everybody has a part in this discussion today. And I think we as government leaders need to take all of that and then come back with a overall solution, if you will, not us, but all of us. And I like the idea with Mr. Kubo back there came up and shared his 1 hour. And then, of course, KSR, I mean, just all the different volunteers and supported people on the nonprofit side of it. But at the end, it's all about collaboration and working together and seeking the resources, even from afar. So for me, as one of our council members, you know, I'm hoping that we can continue to provide whatever we can to you. There's an emotional side that hits everybody, but at the same time, tomorrow is another day, so we got to make sure that we take this discussion and move it, not just sit on it. And we have the key people in this, right here in this chambers. So I appreciate the discussion. We look forward to more opportunities to find solutions and not just talk about it, but put it into action. Because God forbid something will happen again, but at least we can help and provide support there. So I look forward to that.
Thank you, and
You
which
go
one,
first.
Councilmember Bolason?
This is a very heavy topic. First, mahalo, Council Chair, for putting this on the agenda. It's mahalo everyone for being in this room and spending time with us, sharing your knowledge and your experience. All the volunteers that spend all the time taking care of this issue. Prayers to the families lost. Prayers to the families who are here, who are healing from those loss, and then prayers to those who have not been found yet. And then mahalo again to all of our professional people who do this on a daily basis. It's one of those things where if you work in this as a job, right, as a police department or fire department, and as a volunteer, I can relate it as a healthcare professional. The work is heavy. So there's so much invested into it. More than just time, money, and energy, a lot of it is just heart. So there's just 3 quotes that I'm just going to put out and kind of share my perspective. One is something that was shared with me is that whenever you're working with anyone, just remember that everyone is doing their best at the moment. And that allows me to understand that everyone's giving what they can for whatever situation it is and accept it for the reality it is. And then the second part to that is sometimes the best isn't enough. And there's parts of us that have to accept that as part of healing in the process. 2 more things. There's always room to do better. There's nothing that is perfect in this community or in any process. There's always room to do better. And then the last quote is, we fall to the level of our training. We never rise to our expectations. In this scenario, it's really hard to eat that quote. Because the expectation is that we always find someone. We always save them. We never let anyone slip by, right? That's the expectation, that's the bar. And it's really hard to accept in this process and learning what's going on and what we need to improve. And we go out every day whenever these scenarios come out. The expectation is that we're going to find that person immediately. They're fine. We go home, everyone's safe. And it's really hard to accept the truth that sometimes we will fail. And that failure then leads to us being in this room and allow us to look at solutions. And I heard great solutions today. Revisiting the MOU. I think that should be just a normal procedure to always look at our situations and making sure that we're reevaluating after experiences like this to make it better. Revisit the protocol, revisit the triage. It seems, every situation is adaptable. And unfortunately, when we create protocols, they're usually designed for the situation that we're experiencing, and then things change, and then we need to make adaptation. And then I really appreciate Councilmember Cooley bringing up, looking at our resources. When we're in this room, I look at it from, yes, we are having this conversation, but then bring it back to council. What can we do as a council? And I wonder about if we even have dedicated budget. It doesn't sound like it's something that we have explored, and resources can make a big difference. There's two things for me how this hits me, or three things that hits me why I'm so passionate about this. One, I'm a new dad with a 5-month-old, and all you new parents, I'm sure you have these fears and dreams, and that a lot of people who volunteer have this flashbacks. I recently, and I don't know if it's because this was on the agenda, but like 2 days ago, I had a dream that my son was lost, and I had to go find him. And you wake up and you're just like, whoa! Oh, he right there. He's inside the stuff. So I can only imagine. I had a classmate who disappeared for I think 4 days, 5 days I think, and they found him. My classmate Cody. Oh, and that was the only relatable experience I had, so I could really understand how you guys feel and how important this is. And so I'm hyper committed to doing what we need to do to continually improve, while accepting that everyone's doing their best. Sometimes the best isn't enough, but we always can do better. And I'll just end with that.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Kuali'i?
Yeah, I do too want to offer my condolences, my prayers, blessings, and aloha to all of those who have lost loved ones. And I echo my council member here, his comments. I do want to use some of my time to share some testimony that we received from Rosemary Johnson, who's the director of Search and Rescue Conference. She sent us like a 3-page letter, but I'll just read some highlights. I understand today is about Kauai County's protocol. However, the fact is the county is following what the state set forth. Some will argue that Hawaii has a broken search and rescue system. In my findings, there is no standard system in place, and at best, it is a fragmented system with no solid foundational policies and processes to stand on. The advantage of no system or a fragmented search and rescue system is that we can utilize the best practices from around the country to create a robust one. We don't have to start from scratch. Due to resource limitations, agencies have a protocol of searching up to 72 hours maximum, and it's very heartbreaking when any search needs to stop. However, in early 2023, it was cited in a leading international search and rescue magazine that based on population, Hawaii is tied for second in the nation for missing persons. So the fact is, as a state, we have to do better. On August 1st, 2024, the Hawaii Search and Rescue Conference hosted a virtual symposium with over 100 search and rescue registered guests, who included national experts willing to work with us, sharing their best practices. After 3 breakout sessions, it was determined that the solution would be to create a solid bill this quarter to take legislation in January for a state search and rescue coordinator who can start creating a unique system for our state that works for everyone. During the 2024 legislative session, a bill was passed for a state fire marshal after the Maui wildfires. This is a good start, so let's keep the momentum going. If you want to be a part of the solution, I invite everyone interested in improving the safety of our islands for both our residents and guests of Hawaii to participate in joining us this quarter in the creation of a bill that will need the support of all agencies and counties to move forward so that it can pass. Just some personal comments. I think, when we hear say that this is negative talk about an individual and it seems like a power struggle, that's so off. I think if you read some of the comments and if you've looked into the detail of the testimonies that was shared with us, even the testimony that was said today, then you'll see that one individual was literally attacking other individuals. And to say that somebody was attacking me is not attacking that person. So please, I work with the YWCA. It's a stab in my heart on how I feel about having to stand up for women, my mom, my sisters. Come on, people. It's offensive, derogatory attacks, and it's not on both sides. Let's be clear about that. So, and then at the risk of oversimplifying this, I like what you said about, we do our best and we all fail. Nobody's going to find every person they look for. So there's going to be, and it's tragic. And we're broken by not finding someone, right? But then the person who does find them later, the circumstances have changed immensely. If it's many, many days later, don't you think there's different smells in the air? People talked about flies and smells. Of course, one dog later might have a better shot at it because it's a different circumstance. So that doesn't mean that other people failed earlier. They would have had the same success if they were meted with the same circumstance. Finding people is important. That's the bottom line. I think no one said it better. And there's a lot of emotions and a lot of criticisms, but I think the most important thing we have to do is we have to express our gratitude, our deepest gratitude for everyone who puts the effort and time into finding our lost people, our missing people, especially the volunteers. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, as committee chair for Public Safety and Human Services, I want to, kind of following up on him, express my gratitude to every one of you who have come here, and even the people who are waiting on other topics, for having the tenacity to sit through this heartbreaking conversation and how do we work better, and especially for all of you willing to put your lives on the line. I have a room full of first responders. Thank you for what you do. I want to offer comfort to Dylan's family, who I believe is watching, and anybody else who might be in pain. I want to say that, I'm not a hunter. I have been a hiker. One of the things that I noticed when I first moved here in my very early 20s was our long-standing culture of when somebody is lost or missing or there needs to be help, boom, like that. Little child's missing, that's, whoa, where's so-and-so? Everybody drops what they're doing, whether they're hanging together, whether they're playing volleyball, whether they're fishing. I was so impressed and touched at what an amazing group our culture is, where somebody's in the ocean, somebody's on the pier, somebody's in the men's room, women's room. They find that 3-year-old that went missing as soon as they found out. So I would say central to our culture is all hands on deck when it is identified that we have a crisis. And I believe that there is room for, in all of what we're talking here, I appreciate that I'm hearing, even if there's been injury before, that there is some pathway that there can be working together, because I'm even hearing, everybody recognizing that friends and families and allies that might be willing hunters and hikers, they're highly likely to not give up. I appreciate how we talked about needing to adapt perhaps the memorandum of understanding, because that's something that limits the Kauai Search and Rescue. They stick within the protocols that they have an agreement to do. So we can look at how we adapt all of these things, but I feel like we've gotten a starting point. I was kind of hoping that we'd gotten a little bit further, but you know what, this is a great opportunity to have this conversation. I also had a little bit that I wanted to read out of this same woman, Rosemary Johnson, who's the director of Hawaii Search and Rescue Conference. She had a little bit, I picked a different piece to pull out of what she said. She said, from my research over the past 6 years, I have found that we have a gross lack of funding for tools, training, and technology in the state. Each county has a volunteer search and rescue teams who seek out their own. Kauai County's search and rescue team aggressively pursues certification as the only Hawaii county that has a memorandum of understanding with the county police department. And so she says, other findings is that we are one of the few states in the country without a state mutual aid coordinator, state fire marshal, state search and rescue coordinator, state search and rescue plan, state search and rescue fund, and state board or commission to distribute any funds. Yet we have some of the most treacherous terrain in the world, with over 10 million tourists annually, spending over $17 billion in 2019 and $13 billion in 2021, which creates 1 to 2 billion per year in tax revenue, with very little funding for prevention and search and rescue tools, training, or technology. So that's another piece that she put in here that is in agreement with what, Vice Chair Kuali'i already read. I think this gives us a really good framework of some work that we can do legislatively. I really have confidence that we can be an and, not an or. We can be qualified hunters and hikers and an amazing search and rescue team that has the capacity and the time to put in to all the organization. Really impressed with the computer elements, working on the technology. You guys are really doing a great job. So I thank you very much, and I honor you. And I honor the others, and I honor people who have had real challenges. And for the police department and the fire department, police department, they got a real hard job doing all kinds of things really spread thin, mostly in the built environment. There's not the wilderness, isn't their piece. So we can't have a mindset that expects us to take 5 or 6 police officers and go dedicate them for 3 days, because the rest of the island needs them. So I appreciate they're not here, but DoCare and our rangers with DOFA, we've got a lot of good team. So I think this is a really good starting point, and I do hope that we can find it in our hearts to love and forgive one another. And I do want to look at Sasha and Olivia and really acknowledge you. And you have friends that are here with you. Yeah. 2 friends, Iris, and I don't know your name, but pardon me? Carla, you wrote in. I want to acknowledge you with your grace and your very, very important voice in the room. So thank you to everyone. And okay, Council Chair.
Just one more quick
Vice
thing.
Chair.
I noticed that she left, but I was especially impressed and moved and touched by the testimony from Shauna as a young Native person who is doing this work. And so when she talked about, all the time and effort she puts in and how she's being belittled for it, that word belittled just kind of hurt my heart. So cut it out. Let's all be good with each other and respect each other and respect that people do things differently, but, just cut it out for Shauna's sake. Thank you.
All right. I think that would be us. We're finished with this. Mahalo all. So that concludes our public safety and human services.
Oh, you gotta take a vote. Take a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all those in favor with the motion to receive?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so the Public Safety and Human Services Committee is concluded.